Okay, thank you guys all for joining us. How we will conduct this, we have Iona head coach Rick Pitino, along with Stephen Stapleton, who's the counsel for Rick Pitino. Mr. Stapleton will make a statement to open up, as will Coach Pitino, and then we'll open it up to questions. When you have questions, please use the raise hand function. I'll ask myself, and we will do as many people as we can. So, Mr. Stapleton.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is Steve Stapleton from Clark Hill, counsel for Coach Pitino. This has been a long and tedious 5 years for Coach Pitino. It's been very stressful for him and his family. He lost a job that he loved, a lengthy contract, and he listened to lies that were told by many about him these past 5 years. Although the IARP panel's decision completely exonerates Coach Pitino, there are no winners. As we got to know Coach and review the voluminous record before the panel, it was clear to us that Coach Pitino did not commit a violation. He did nothing wrong. It was our job to make sure the independent panel had all the information before them so they could make an informed decision, and that they did. I just wanted to make sure folks on the call understand and highlight some of the things from the panel's decision. It's a lengthy decision, of course. We've only had slightly more time than you to review it. We appreciate the panel's work and the lengthy opinion that resulted in a unanimous decision. This decision held that Coach Pitino did not commit any violations. There's no evidence he knew of any payment scheme because he did not. These red flags the CCU continuously advanced were rejected by the panel. The panel agreed with Coach Pitino that there was no sufficient or credible information to conclude that the apparel company was a representative of the university's athletic interests. The red flags were not in plain sight with respect to Coach Pitino. Coach Pitino never requested that the apparel company employee number one assist in the recruitment of the PSA. The apparel company employee number one did not inform Coach Pitino that he would assist in recruiting the PSA. These are all directly from the panel's decision. The panel also found there was no reason to suggest that Coach Pitino had any reasonable basis to believe that the brief exchange he had with the apparel company representative was a red flag. The second red flag advanced by the CCU was around the PSA and his late interest in Louisville and unsubstantiated rumors that another program had made some illegal financial offer for the PSA to attend. The panel completely rejected this based on the evidence. The panel noted there were serious due process concerns about the CCU's actions, certainly with respect to Coach Pitino. Also, the panel determined that during the time period alleged, Coach Pitino conducted the Louisville men's basketball program in a responsible manner and promoted an atmosphere of compliance. The decision, I believe on pages 51 through 53, sets forth in detail what Coach Pitino did to promote that atmosphere of compliance. We argue that this is probably the first case where the CCU or the NCAA asked the panel to hold a coach responsible because he was too strict. The panel agreed and completely rejected that argument. Coach Pitino was completely exonerated. He should not have had to have gone through what he has gone through the last 5 years. We'd like to thank the panel for their work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Pitino.
Thanks, Stephen. Certainly your great work as well. We're so much appreciative of that. The IARP apparently is going away, and I'm very disappointed in that for other coaches and other programs and other universities, because these are legal experts who are strict with due process. They don't believe in hearsay. And I'm certainly not going to knock the NCAA because I'm part of the NCAA. I'd be knocking myself. But I will say this. I've been through 2 different hearings. This one was much more professional from a standpoint of they would not take into consideration just like a red flag. I'm being accused of having strict rules. I was told that I was too strict that an assistant coach could not come to me if he violated rules because he would be terminated. I've told my staff going back 40 years that if they knowingly violate NCAA rules, they will be terminated. If they break a rule and it's unknowingly, we turn ourselves in and we obviously take it to our athletic director and our compliance department. They felt that that was too strict. Well, that should be their goal and what they're shooting for. Now, 2 assistant coaches have had a show cause. One of them has apologized to me just recently through his attorney, and he's glad that this is now over with, and I appreciate that, and you're certainly forgiven of anything as far as I'm concerned. But as you sit for 2 years away from the game you love, you sit at your home with nothing to do, and suddenly it's not 8 hours a day on a basketball court. Suddenly it's not scouting, watching film and breaking away and not realizing that you may not get back in the game. You suddenly realize that you have to take accountability for who you may hire. But then you start looking at all the positives. You know, I've had over 25 people become head coaches. 3 have gone to Final Fours. One of my ex-players and coaches won 2 back-to-back national championships, a future Hall of Famer. Another just at UCLA, Mick Cronin, was an outstanding assistant who was totally compliant to rules. Another, Tubby Smith, won a national championship at Kentucky. So there's about 23, 24, 25 others. The first female coach to ever sit on a bench became a head coach and was part of that great game with Duke, where we lost on that Christian late jump shot. So there are so many great assistants out there that did it the right way, and I'm so appreciative of them and the teams that they helped me build. When I left, I got a phone call about a week prior to Christmas. I decided to take a job in the professional league, Panathinaikos, in the EuroLeague. I just left my family, took off, never been to Greece. And then the next 2 years were an unbelievable experience. I coached against great coaches in the EuroLeague. We made the playoffs both years. We won 2 Greek League championships, and I later became the national coach. So through great adversity, sometimes unbelievable things happen. I've had so many friends from my agent over in Greece, Angelos Kotorias. He's like a little brother to me. And the thousands of people I met that treated me with such great kindness over in Greece, I can't thank them enough. And to become their national coach was a distinct honor that I'll never forget. So those 2 years went by, and I had the opportunity now to come back to Iona and coach college basketball once again. And I'm deeply appreciative of them as well. But now it's time to get on with this, and certainly Louisville's behind me. I wish them nothing but the best. Kenny Payne is a friend. I want to see him have great success. But understand this. We have our 10th anniversary coming up of our national championship team in 2013. You don't take championships away. You can't rewrite history. We won the championship. No, we did not use steroids. We did not steal signs. We did not do anything illegal to gain an advantage of the game of basketball. We beat Michigan with great defense, an outstanding, well-coached Michigan team. We beat Wichita State, an outstanding, well-coached team with a hard work ethic, great defense, unselfish offense. And my players should be commended. They are champions. You can't take that away from them. But I will tell you this, if the IARP was involved in looking at that case, that banner would still be hanging today, because they don't have anything except experts on that panel, not a committee hired by the NCAA. It doesn't work that way. It's not about hearsay. It's looking at the facts, looking at the evidence, and coming away with an honest decision. So that's not a knock on the people that serve on those committees, but those young men in 2013, they won a championship the honest way. Was it reprehensible behavior that some of them were involved in, and an assistant coach? 100%. We were all against that at the University of Louisville. As far as the University of Louisville is concerned, as I said, I wish him nothing but the best. But there's one thing missing. It's not my contract. It's not me going away from a great fan base who I loved. The only thing I regret, amongst a lot of personal things as well as professional things in my life, the thing I regret the most is that Tom Jurich resigned. See, Tom Jurich in all of this, he came to me, and a lot of people don't notice, 3 weeks prior to me being fired and said, two people that I don't want to mention their names because I have such a distaste for them. Two people said that, Tom, if you don't fire Rick Pitino, we're going to fire you. And he said, that's not going to happen, coach. You're not going to be fired. You did nothing wrong. He came to me a week later and said, coach, they're going to fire me if I don't let you go. I said, Tom, that's it. You're firing me. You built this place. You took a soccer program, made them #1 in the country, and built a new soccer stadium. You enhanced the football stadium. You have a top 10 football program, a Heisman Trophy winner, coach. Brilliant there. You took a women's basketball program, made it top 5 in the country, a top 5 men's program in the country, a baseball program that was the eye of so many baseball programs in the nation, and you built that stadium as well. Tom Jurich, and if you take 1,000 athletic directors, and you all know that listening to me, 999 would have fired me. And I don't blame them for doing so. Tom Jurich said, I could not sleep at night if I let you go. And that's the biggest regret I have looking back on the situation. The banner being taken down, certainly my place, you can't take that championship away. You celebrate, guys. This is your 10th anniversary. You've earned it. Luke Hancock, you were the most outstanding player. You earned that. Peyton Seaver, Russ Smith, all you guys earned that. But I will say that Tom Jurich did not deserve his fate. What he did at Louisville was absolutely incredible from a facility standpoint. What he did taking those programs to national prominence was amazing. And Tom, to this day, if I could take back one thing, I wish you would have just stayed on and fired me. But that being said, just speaks the volumes of your character, what you're all about. And that's the thing I feel most sad about today. So now we move on to the most important thing. Most important thing right now, my players throughout this from both Boston University, Providence College, Kentucky, and Louisville kept me strong throughout this ordeal. But now it's time to get ready for Pennsylvania. They have 12 players returning. We play Vermont at the Mohegan Sun, St. Bonaventure at the Barclays Center, St. Louis at home, Santa Clara in Las Vegas, New Mexico at New Mexico, SMU in the Diamond Head Classic. We have one of the 5th or 6th toughest non-conference schedules in the nation. And if I don't get fired up for that, I'm in trouble, serious trouble. So I'll take any of your questions if you may have it right now, but I want to thank the IARP again for their professionalism, for the hours and hours and hours of work they put into this. And I also want to thank the NCAA and their people that worked very, very hard about it. I didn't agree with you, but I thank you for everything you put in as well.
If you can use the raise hand function, I'll call on you to unmute.
I said it already.
All right, Kevin McNamara.
Yes, Coach, I'm obviously the one active coach who has a show cause is at the University of Rhode Island now. I'm curious how you feel about that. Do you think that's a fair decision on that front?
Kevin, I let the one thing I'm not is a jury, and I'm not a judge. I try not to. I've been judged unfairly at times and correctly at times. So I'm not going to, was I disappointed in some of the actions of that Rhode Island assistant? Yes, I was. But I believe he's a good person. I wish him well. I hope he does well. And I hope he has great success at the University of Rhode Island.
I'm good.
All right, raise your hand with questions. If anyone's struggling to, Eric Crawford.
Rick, the way this ruling was come to really changes the way that NCAA prosecution is viewed. They didn't just take things at face value. Even though the IARP is going away, do you think maybe some of these things will stick going forward, or hope they do at least?
So let me give you an example, another red flag. They said that they took all my text messages away, all my phone calls away, and he looked at them. And of course, I had to pay for all this, along with my legal team. And Steve is a high-powered lawyer. He's not cheap. So they said that I got this gossip message that said this other school paid this exorbitant amount of money to the family that was brought up. And I absolutely did not believe it for 1 second. If you go on the internet, you can find all this gossip constantly. You don't turn people in. And what I said to them was I should have turned in some very, very big names, because there was gossip out there about those big names. And I would never do that. If I had factual information that a school was breaking the rules, I certainly would have brought it to compliance. But I'm not going to bring anything to compliance based on gossip. And hearsay is not part of the IARP. Hearsay is part of the NCAA committees. They take in hearsay, and they've said that before. Am I correct on that?
It's a little more than just hearsay. It's hearsay upon hearsay. So it was like, I heard this from somebody else that heard this. So it was a little more attenuated.
And the only phone call I had with the third issue, I had one level 2 violation of the third issue from the assistant, who supposedly I knew real well, but he had to tell me his full name. I think he probably threw in his middle name as well. But he said to me, are you interested in this person? And I said, yes, I am. Donovan Mitchell is leaving, and we have a position open, and yes, I'm interested. End the phone call. That was it. There was nothing else to it. And anything else said is a blatant lie.
How much with this ruling? I don't know. I know that the previous ruling still sticks with everybody because of its impact on the championship, but some of these were same arguments brought in that ruling, and it was completely different. I know it can't be revisited, but do you feel like this is a little bit of even some, I don't know, some salve for that since the way they've ruled with this?
I believe the championship banner will be hung again. I believe the championship will be recognized as it should, because I believe in the NCAA. I believe in the character of the NCAA. I tweeted out the other day about Reggie Bush needs to, in light of all these NILs and these football players making millions and millions of dollars, I think Reggie's Heisman Trophy should be given back to him, because let's not be hypocritical about that. There's going to be some Heisman Trophy winners right now that are going to make more than coaches in a lifetime. So let's give Reggie his Heisman Trophy back. Let's stop the hypocrisy. And I do believe the NCAA will hang the banner and give these young men, they earned it on the court. We all know that what went on in that dorm was reprehensible behavior, but that had nothing to do with the play on the basketball court. And it should not be taken out on them, the great fans of Louisville, and certainly the pride that we took in building that championship.
Last thing for me, Rick, just personally, just to have this chapter close. I know everybody involved has been long for. Just your thoughts on that.
Yes, look, you coach 40 years. I've coached in 7 Final Fours, 2 national championships. I've coached the Celtics and the Knicks. You're going to have, as great as the Knicks were, it was difficult with the Celtics. You're going to have bumps in the road. You're going to have your trials and tribulations in every job in all walks of life. And right now, like I said, I look back on so many great assistant coaches that I had. They all were just tireless workers to build something special, as we did at Louisville for 17 years, as we did at Kentucky, as we did at Providence, as we did at Boston University, as we are now doing at Iona College. So you have those bumps in the road. Louisville come back strong. So many great programs have come back strong. You see it at Auburn, you see it at Tennessee, you see it all over the nation in basketball as well. Coach Wooden, 2 people I admire greatly, and Coach Wooden is one of them. I'm sure he had his problems trying to get Sam Gilbert out of that program because there's not a man alive. You read every book about Coach Wooden, suddenly Sam Gilbert always pops up. There's not a more humble person, a person with more integrity, a person that stood for everything we believe in life than Coach Wooden. And he had to go through certain things in his life as well. We all do. There are people out there that go through so many more hardships than I've certainly been through, even though these times have been very difficult.
Okay, at this time, Drew Diener.
Yeah, Coach, if somehow they do someday raise the banner, would you be open to coming back to being in person to celebrate that if invited?
I wish Josh nothing but the best, and Kenny Payne I absolutely love, but my days at Louisville are over. I love the fans. I think when they reconcile with Tom Jurich, then I would possibly consider coming back. But until that day happens, I think it's better that I stay in New Rochelle.
Okay, thanks, Drew. Billy Witz.
Rick, I can't help but think, yesterday, just Kansas came out and said that they were going to take Bill Self will be suspended for 4 games, but I know that knowledge that every case is different, but are looking at that, kind of the way Kansas has really dug in their heels and fought this at every turn. Do you feel disappointed in any way? Louisville?
Yes, I am very disappointed in that. I had a level 2 violation with 3 different areas, and North Carolina really dug in their heels. Louisville did not. Louisville succumbed to it all. I was hoping actually that I would get, with Penn having 12 returning players, that I'd get suspended for 1 game.
And also, did just the way you coach, you're very detail oriented. Did you have to? Was it a case that you had to make that, or was it a difficult case or challenging that? You didn't know what was going on in your program. I mean, and that's been kind of a history too. I mean, with the strippers and in this case that, did you have to work to, that was a credible argument?
The thing that people don't realize is there was a dorm director at Billy Minotti Hall that didn't know there were strippers there, and he worked there for 3 years. When you sneak people through a emergency door at midnight, I couldn't possibly know that. If I did, all hell would have broke loose. You get disappointed in coaches that would certainly even think about doing something like that. But I will say this: the University of Louisville is a university that really cares about the student athletes. The compliance department was terrific in every step along the way. Tom Jurich, as I said earlier, was just a man who had his fingers and pulse on everything. And you're disappointed. I wish I could have stopped it. Wish I would have known, but I could not have known. It was kind of at one point, the NCAA committee asked me, the enforcement staff had said, well, when the parents were at breakfast on Sunday, did you ask them pointed questions? Did you look for red flags? I said, now, why would I be looking for red flags? I asked the parents, did they enjoy the visit? Did they enjoy practice? Did they get all their academic questions answered? What did they think of the campus? What did they think of what we're doing in terms of academics tutoring? No, I didn't ask them, did they see any ladies of the night roaming around? So it's sometimes it's so ridiculous, these red flags. It's about evidence. It's about facts. And fortunately for us here in this country, we have a court of law that relies on hardcore evidence, facts, and not hearsay. And that's what I'm just a little against. Not against the people. I'm against hearsay because I've had enough of it the last 5 years to last a lifetime.
Okay, thanks, Billy. Dana O'Neill.
Rick, the word that the panel used over again was exonerated. what does that mean to you and in terms of, just personally and kind of, as you just mentioned, you've had things said about you in the last 5 years, and for your reputation, what does that word mean to you?
Well, you can't get certain things back, and I realize that. The past, sometimes you want to forget, and other times you want to cherish. The future you certainly want to plan for, and I'm doing that now. But they took a great job away from me. Two people took a great job with a great fan base, something that I, for 17 years, enjoyed it thoroughly. But what was taken away was also given back to me with Greece. What was taken away was also given back to me with Iona College. So you take your lumps, and then you move on. You get tougher, and then you certainly appreciate all the great things that you have. And that's the way I look at it right now. I'm not going to go back and say these 5 years, it's been 5 years of hell, because they haven't been. Jim Valvano once told me something, and I spoke to Bobby Valvano about it, and his other brother. And it was an amazing thing. He thought what he went through with the enforcement staff in NC State, he thought his whole constitution, his ability to fight cancer, was broken down by everything that he went through. He felt his immune system was broken down. And I checked with Bobby. Bobby, is everything he told me, is that the way he felt? He said, yes, 100%. And, that story resonated with me so strongly, because we all admire Jim so much in the way he fought cancer, that I said, in those 5 years, that's not going to happen to me. It's not going to beat me down to the point where it kills my immune system. And I'm not going to do that. And no matter what people said, I was going to move on. And certainly, if it wasn't for Greece, I don't know if that would have happened. If it wasn't for Iona College, I don't know if that would have happened. But I got lucky. I got a lot of great breaks along the way.
Again, a reminder, raise your hand. The next question is Guy Flatico.
Hey, Coach. Now that you've been exonerated, bigger schools may have been hesitant to pursue you to lead their programs, might now come out of the woodwork, reach out to gauge your interests. In the past, you said you're happy at Iona and you don't have any interest in coaching elsewhere. But given your exonerations, how does this change how you view your own future as a coach?
That it really has nothing to do with it. I enjoy where I live. I'm part of the greatest city, greatest state in the United States. I know everybody says all New Yorkers are moving out. I don't see it. But I'm part of a great city where I grew up 7 streets from Madison Square Garden, where I had the great fortune of coaching the Knicks. Now I'm back home. I love where I live. I love the players I'm coaching. The players are really what it's all about. These guys every single day give me 4 player development sessions 5 days a week. They give me practice in the afternoon. They give me every ounce of their abilities. So it's really about the players. It's not about me. And I'm enjoying coaching the hell out of them.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, we have last call for questions. Anyone else have a question, please raise your hand. Okay, Billy.
Yeah, Rick, I just wanted to follow up on that question I had before. Is that, just the fact that, or your assertion that you didn't know what's going on? I in this case, in particular, not so much the stripper part, but was that something that you had to make a case for during the hearing?
Well, they listened to the red flags, and it's there's no way I could have known what Jordan Fair did in walking in a hotel room, because he didn't come back and tell me. And certainly when Christian Dawkins was doing what he did, and he got up and said that Coach Pitino had no knowledge, and TJ Gassinola got up on trial and said he had no knowledge. The dad got up and said he had no knowledge. You just don't know what's going on, and many times you don't find out until years later that something was going on. Certainly, we do our due diligence to try and find out everything that's going on. Like my staff here at Iona, I said, I want to know every player, who they're dating, what her name is. I want to check every single ticket list. We did that at Louisville. Now, I don't have as many I don't have to worry about as many agents coming to our games with my players right now, but I'm hoping that we get to that someday. So you just try your best. Sometimes you fail, and certainly I did fail in not uncovering what went on with some of my assistant coaches, but that's something they've got to live with, as I've had to live with certain things in my life.
So there's no, hey, we're not, all of a sudden we're in on Brian Bowen and, after, at the 11th hour, and there's no questioning of like, hey, how do we get in?
I actually did question it. I questioned it to the family when I met with them. I said, now, wait a second. All of a sudden it's Michigan State, it's Arizona, and now why us? And they said, quite frankly, if I remember back, Arizona had 2 players return. Michigan State had no more scholarships. So I knew before any of this broke, I knew he was coming. He had no other options but to come with us. But he just wanted to wait for, I think it was his birthday or graduation a week later before he announced it. But I knew when he left that campus, way before it even broke, that he was coming. Brian Bowen had no other options but to come at that point in time if he wanted to play at the major level.
But he didn't, but you never asked those questions of
Yes, I did. I asked those questions with the family. We went out to lunch. We went into Griff's, Darryl Griffith's restaurant. We had a $18 bill. I made them pay for their Coke, their burgers, and their fries. I questioned them all throughout his visit about that. The mom gave me all the right answers. Brian gave me all the right answers. The dad gave me all the right answers. And I grilled them during that visit because I had some concerns of why this great play was taking so long. And I said he fell into our lap, but he fell into our lap because he had no other avenues to choose. That was it.
Did you ever ask Jordan those questions of like, hey, how did we get in on this guy?
Well, Jordan really wasn't the point person for him. It was more Kenny Johnson. And he just told me, he said he's run out of options, coach. He wanted Michigan State, he wanted to go to Arizona, and it's not going to happen. We're in great shape right now. And before it even existed, Brian Bowen called me and said he was coming. I still believe to this day, maybe I'm naive, I don't know, but I still believe to this day that the mom and the young man had no idea this was going on.
Okay, thanks.
Gary Graves, and then after Gary, we'll have time for one more.
Rick, when you look back on this whole situation, I guess, when the allegations came down and you were pretty adamant, vehement, even in terms of asserting that you didn't know anything about this, how much vindication do you feel with this decision? I mean, did you always feel like there would, this day would come, even with, the uncertainty of NCAA decisions?
My son said to me, Dad, you wrote a book. Now, knock it off, please. My son was my assistant coach, who's a brilliant mind in his own right, and he's now the head coach in New Mexico. He said, Dad, that's it. Stop with, we know you're innocent. Your players know you're innocent. They know what you're all about. Your family knows what you're all about. Stop trying to convince people. And I took his advice. I hate taking advice from my son, Richard, but I took his advice, and he was right. So do I feel vindicated? It really is really not that important anymore because it's been 5 years. My only salvation was the fact that I learned so much about basketball by coaching in the EuroLeague. And when you can learn at 65 so many different things offensively to make you a better teacher, I was so appreciative of that. And certainly now being at Iona and coaching here back home is a great thrill for me and my family.
And then our last question, Drew Diener.
Well, that was actually my question, and Richard told you to stop talking about this, even though you were right. So now do you have his permission to speak again?
No, Richard has me on curfew. He doesn't want, Richard wants me to retire, so he'll start talking more about New Mexico basketball, less about Iona College. So we're going to go play him this year. He wants to just kick my ass, and he probably will, but we're going to give it a good fight.
All right, thanks everybody, Coach.
Thanks everybody, I appreciate it.
Thank you.